Breaking tonight. Donald Trump's bond strategy in the New York civil fraud case has reportedly hit a wall. Hard. In a closed-door emergency hearing on Thursday, January 23rd, Judge Arthur Engoron allegedly signaled that the fight over the $464 million bond is over. Multiple accounts from inside the courtroom describe the message as unmistakable. No more extensions, no more workarounds, no reduced figure, no alternate collateral scheme. The judge reportedly used the word final repeatedly, while rejecting what sources described as the defense's latest push to delay or reshape the bond requirement. This wasn't a minor procedural loss. In the language of high-stakes litigation, this was the moment when every remaining off-ramp disappeared. So what triggered the confrontation? According to those familiar with the hearing, Trump's legal team had filed yet another motion, described as the seventh in roughly 3 weeks, seeking one of three outcomes: lower the bond, push the deadline, or allow alternative security instead of the full bond amount. The judge's response, as described by attorneys present, was unusually direct. Trump had been given time, opportunities, and options. The appeals court had already weighed in on the bond, and further delay efforts would be treated as obstruction, not advocacy. Legal observers say that's the kind of language you hear when a judge believes the case has entered its endgame, and when the court has stopped negotiating. The tension, sources say, has been building for months, ever since the court's ruling found Trump liable for fraud tied to inflated asset valuations used to obtain favorable loan terms. But the dispute escalated sharply when the defense argued that bonding companies would not accept real estate as collateral. At the heart of the judge's skepticism, according to courtroom accounts, was a credibility problem the defense could not explain away. Judge Engoron reportedly pointed to Trump's own public remarks, statements in which he claimed massive cash reserves, then contrasted them with court filings suggesting the bond was effectively impossible to secure. The implication was blunt. Those positions cannot both be true. Either the public claims were exaggerated, or the court claims were, and judges do not treat that kind of contradiction as harmless spin, especially when financial representations are submitted under penalty of perjury. Sources say the judge went further, scrutinizing financial disclosures and comparing them to public assertions of liquidity, spending several minutes methodically highlighting inconsistencies. In civil litigation at this level, judges rarely insist on maximum rigidity unless they believe a party has been using procedure as a weapon or is unlikely to comply without pressure. Then came the turning point. According to multiple accounts, a conference in chambers included lawyers from both sides. The defense presented letters from bonding companies describing limitations on acceptable collateral. The judge reportedly listened, then delivered a decisive response. The defense could pursue financing, sell assets, or secure other arrangements, but it could not ask the court to reconcile incompatible narratives of wealth and inability. When Trump's team requested additional time to consult, the judge reportedly refused. And then he laid out what was described as a hard enforcement schedule. Trump would have until Monday, January 27th at 5 p.m. Eastern to either post the full bond or provide proof of an irrevocable bond agreement for the entire amount. If that deadline passed without compliance, the New York Attorney General would be cleared to begin enforcement, including asset restraints, liens, and potential account freezes. Just as important, the judge reportedly signaled that there would be no further pauses, no last-minute reconsideration, no procedural resets, no emergency motions designed to stop enforcement once the clock ran out. To legal analysts, that kind of ruling doesn't happen casually. When a judge known for procedural discipline starts imposing immovable deadlines backed by immediate enforcement, It signals the court believes delay tactics have run their course, and that compliance will happen only if consequences arrive at full speed. The political shockwaves are obvious. If enforcement begins, the optics of liens and seizures would instantly dominate headlines and campaign coverage. But beyond politics, legal experts say the deeper issue is institutional. The civil justice system depends on truthful financial representations. If a party can shift between "I'm enormously wealthy" in public and "I can't meet the bond requirement in court without consequence," judges eventually respond with the only tool that can't be argued into submission: enforcement power. Trump's public response, as described in your script, adds fuel to that credibility bind, claiming he has the money while also framing compliance as a choice he refuses to make. In courtroom terms, that distinction matters. Courts often differentiate between inability to comply and refusal to comply, and the consequences are very different. Now, the countdown is the story. A $464 million bond, a fixed deadline, and enforcement actions that could be filed the moment the clock flips past 5 p.m. on January 27th. If this timeline holds, the next move isn't rhetorical, it's mechanical. And what happens next could become a defining test of whether court orders carry real force when the defendant is wealthy, politically powerful, and openly resistant.